Are AOC and other leftists causing Trump resistance fatigue? Samuel Alito blasts the latest Supreme Court ruling. Plus, New York Attorney General Letitia James may be the next Ilhan Omar. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to the 13-minute news hour. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with the so-called Trump resistance that took root basically on the day that President Trump was elected to his second term in office. Rather than seeing that the American people voted for secure borders, fair trade, low inflation, boys not in girls' locker rooms or sports teams, rather than seeing those sentiments and getting on board with them, the Democrats have decided that they are just going to be the party of the Trump resistance. The party that once prided itself on being the party of working class America is now the party of the corporate ruling class, the elite universities, and wife-beating illegal alien gang members. This is the resistance. Here's an example from Fox 35 out of Orlando.
There are hundreds of people out here in Cocoa right now. Just to show you what it looks like, sorry, it's a little windy. You can see there are people on the corner here. Then if you look this way, there are plenty of people across the street that way, on the other corner, and all across this intersection of US 1 and King Street here in Cocoa. And this is a busy intersection.
Yes, tens of people turning out with ridiculous signs and Ukraine flags. Now, it's true that AOC and Bernie Sanders are drawing larger crowds than that, flying in their private jets as they host their Fighting Oligarchy tour, but is it resonating with the American people? Are Americans buying the Trump resistance movement? The answer is no. As reported by Politico, in a new survey in California shows that voters are experiencing resistance fatigue, and it's understandable. There were 4 years of disastrous policies of open borders, high inflation, rising food prices, and foreign policy fiascos. Then there was the 2024 elections. And now voters just seem to want to see how Trump does for a while. After all, Trump won a resounding victory, but the far left, rather than learning from the election, has just been on the attack from day one. As noted by Politico, California voters are less keen on fighting Donald Trump than their state's political elite. In a dual survey of California voters and political professionals who are driving the state's agenda, the electorate is strikingly more likely to want a détente with the White House. Despite nonstop negative coverage of the Trump White House, voters are liking what they are seeing, especially when it comes to the border and illegal migrants.
Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
There are other polls showing the Republican Party tied with the Democrats on who cares more about the American people. If there is any poll that should scare the Democrats, it's that one.
I want you to take a look. Cares more about the needs for people like you. You mentioned it, Kate Paul. We got a tie, even after this tariff war had already started, split between Democrats and Republicans on how people feel which party cares more for needs of people like you. And why is that so surprising? Because I want you to take a look at prior years. Democrats always lead on this question. Back in 2017, before the 2018 midterms, 13-point lead. 2005, a 23-point lead for Democrats. 1994, which was a big Republican year, a 19-point lead for Democrats. And now, all of a sudden, a tie? All of a sudden, the Democrats, who are the party of the people, no more.
That's just incredible. So while the resistance led by AOC and Bernie and Jasmine Crockett keeps rolling along, the American people just want their border to be secure, prices to be low, and men kept out of women's locker rooms. Next, let's talk about the latest Supreme Court ruling on deportations. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, next let's talk about the Supreme Court's latest ruling regarding deportation of Venezuelan illegal migrants to the mega prison in El Salvador. Through yet another injunction by a federal district court, the Supreme Court was forced to address the case of Venezuelan criminals in a Texas detention center who were scheduled to be deported.
The Supreme Court blocked the deportations of Venezuelans held in this North Texas detention facility. The order states in part, no deportations should occur until further order of this court. This comes after lawyers defending the detainees asked several federal courts for emergency injunctions to prevent their deportations to a Salvadoran mega prison. This same prison where Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran national, was sent last month in a separate immigration case.
The ACLU jumped in, arguing that these criminals were not given due process, and so the Supreme Court ruled that deportations of these criminals in Texas will be halted until further notice. This ruling in the rash of district court injunctions has caused Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito to say enough is enough.
Justice Samuel Alito, dissenting from the Supreme Court ruling blocking deportations of suspected Venezuelan gang members, saying, quote, in sum, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule. This is why the White House releases rap sheets, photos of TDA members it wants to deport.
These are criminals, and the Democrats and left-wing judges would rather protect them than innocent American citizens. That's why you have Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen flying down to El Salvador to visit wife-beating illegal migrant gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And by the way, Senator Van Hollen, who has plenty of sympathy for Garcia, offered none of that to Rachel Morin, whose daughter was murdered by an illegal migrant in Van Hollen's own state of Maryland. But I digress. Here's law professor Jonathan Turley on the Alito reaction.
What Justice Alito is saying is, we need to get back to regular order because these cases are coming to us without a record. We don't know what the position of lower courts are. It's basically an improvisational type of filing. And Alito is basically saying, I'm having enough of this. The court earlier basically, chastised lower courts. There's a strong suggestion that they were allowing forum shopping. They sent one case out of D.C. and said that Judge Bosberg, who's currently considering a contempt charge, should never have even heard that case, which is what a number of us said at the outset, that he should never have accepted a case that was actually a habeas case belonging down south. So I think you see this level of frustration rising with the justices.
Turley went on to add that he thinks the Supreme Court will issue some kind of guidelines to the lower courts to return order and stop these injunctions. In the meantime, we're going to see lawfare going crazy. No district judge should be able to tell the president how to conduct himself as president. The American people voted for these policies, and they want the illegal migrants to be thrown out. It's the Democrats who have taken a side, and that side is opposite the American people. Next, it appears that New York Attorney General Letitia James could be the next Ilhan Omar. No, she didn't marry her brother, but she is embroiled in growing legal troubles similar to what she accused President Trump of doing, and that includes claiming on legal documents that her father is her husband.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a referral to the Department of Justice saying that she lied about certain properties to get a better loan for her mortgage. She also claimed that a home in Virginia was her primary residence while she was bringing this case against Trump in New York. She was the Attorney General at that time. So in the state of New York, to be the Attorney General, your primary residence must be in New York. But she prosecuted Trump for all this. Favorable loan rates is what he on his properties, even tweeted about it last year.
Wow. In one instance, she claimed Virginia was her primary residence. If you are an elected official in New York, your primary residence cannot be in Virginia. And then on a mortgage application, she claimed that her father was her husband. But yes, it's not simply a fact that people are out to get her. That's what she's saying, that people are out to get her.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. No one is above the law, including the President of these United States.
This case has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with yet another corrupt Democrat. Unless she actually decided to marry her father, I think she has some explaining to do. It's amazing that someone who ran on getting Trump can't keep her own legal house in order and will allegedly bend and break the law in order to get what she wants. Here's James's Republican Attorney General opponent, Michael Henry, who knows the tactics of James all too well.
And now she looks like the Ilhan Omar of attorney generals. Nobody buys what she's selling. In the interview itself, she looks like she's staring at a teleprompter and she's reading line for line her answers because we've seen her off the cuff when she's awkwardly stumbling through these press conferences. And the reality of the situation here is nobody's above the law, including Letitia James, and she's constantly has these issues that come up. And for a long time, she's gotten a free pass, and she's not getting them anymore.
I would love to see one of these major Democrats go down. They are all corrupt and abuse the system they are supposed to serve. And next, here are some rapid-fire headlines from around the country. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is pushing back against the New York Times and other media outlets for their reporting on a second signal group of the defense secretary that included his wife and brother. As reported by Newsmax, Hegseth answered questions from journalists and said, quote, "What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. No one ever calls them on it. This is what the media does," end quote. As the White House reported today, once again, no classified information was shared on the group, and it's the media trying to make something out of nothing. Next, in a refreshing contrast to the woke films like Snow White that continue to be pushed out by movie studios, faith-based films had an amazing Holy Week leading up to Easter. As reported by the Gateway Pundit, Christian films saw a significant boost at the box office over Easter week, with the animated movie The King of Kings taking the #2 spot just behind the blockbuster film A Minecraft Movie, earning $19.3 million. According to a report by Forbes, 4 of the top 10 films during the weekend were faith-based, including each of the 3-part theatrical release of The Chosen, Last Supper, a special installment of the popular Christian television series. Wonderful news. And finally, Democrat South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn says the Democrats are struggling because mainstream media outlets are not on their side. As reported by the Gateway Pundit, in an appearance on MSNBC, Clyburn explained that Democrats' main problem is that they are unable to share their winning message with the rest of the country because the mainstream media is unwilling to amplify it. Quote, "I have to rely on people like MSNBC. You do a great job of this. That's why I like coming on your shows on the weekends, because you do real good, substantive reporting of what the issues are around us." End quote. Wow. Just think about that one for a while. Friends, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, today's show's one sheet is available to Patreon supporters using the link in the description. The one sheet gives you the links to all the videos and stories used on today's show, so you can dive even deeper into each issue. And with that, our next show will be Wednesday evening at the usual time. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.